friends, and thanks for joining me again. And today I want to talk about the best ways to build equity in your home. Of course, we all know that investing is very important to helping to build a bright financial future. And we all know that investing in real estate is my absolute favorite way to invest. And building equity in our properties and our real estate is my absolute favorite way of investing that we've done in real estate. This is like the tippy top, most high important information in my book on this particular topic. And there are several ways that we can achieve this. There are different ways that we can do this. We can do one of them, we can do all of them, and then we can really be building equity in our assets, in our real estate assets, and help to make sure that we're going to have that bright financial future that we're really all hoping for. And the first one is not going to be a surprise to any of you, and it's paying extra toward our mortgage. If we have debt on our mortgage, I am a huge fan of making sure that we're paying extra toward that. I did a whole video on this topic alone, on where we talked about, the different ways that you can pay down your loan. You can do big payments all at once. You can do little payments, being added each time to your mortgage. Whatever it is that you're able to achieve and that you can realistically do, I am a huge fan of all of it. So if you can do a big, lump sum, say you get an inheritance or some other thing, some lottery winnings, who knows, but just some kind of bonus or something like that, just anything where we're getting a bigger lump sum, if we put that into our mortgage, we're going to skew our amortization schedule to where we not only build that equity that we've originally put in there, but then that is actually going to grow much faster because every payment we make after that is going to go farther than it was originally planned to, based on that amortization schedule. So if we're able to make a little bit extra toward our mortgage payment, that's going to chip away at it too and skew that amortization schedule to where more of our money is going toward principal and less of it is going toward interest, the part that the bank gets to keep. And so it's really a great way to help build equity in your investment, in your real estate investment, your home, or whatever real estate investment it is that you have, a rental or whatever. Let me give you a quick whiteboard example of what it is that I'm talking about. So if you were to take out a $250,000 loan for a property and buy a house today at 4.5% interest and for a 30-year term, and you knew that you wanted to sell this house in 5 years and you wanted to buy a bigger house or just move on or whatever it is. So if you were to have an extra $200 a month and you were going to save for this entire 5 years, if you were to just have put that money into a savings account, you of course would have saved $12,000 in those 5 years. But it only would have made about $242.41 at a 1% interest. So there's that, I guess. If we were to just put the money into a savings account, it really doesn't make that much money and wouldn't really help that much when it comes to trying to save toward building equity and buying that bigger or whatever different house. So let's pretend that you were to put those same $200, but instead added it to your mortgage to try to build that equity faster that way. So if you were to add it to the mortgage, you would have actually made, instead of $242, you would have made $23,534. And this is, of course, using the first 5 years of your mortgage. And so that $12,000, in the savings account turns into $12,242. In your mortgage, it turns into, that same $12,000 turns into $35,534.12 to be exact. So it's definitely worth doing. Instead of putting the money into a savings account, I highly recommend adding it to your mortgage instead. And even if it's for a purpose that you think you're going to need down the road, because of how much faster the money grows when it's in your mortgage as opposed to in a savings account or something like that, again, I definitely feel like it's worth doing. You can always tap into it later with a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit or some other thing like that, a cash out refinance, whatever it is. So yes, instead of putting money into a savings account, if you have a mortgage, I personally think that this is a much safer and better bet, and it definitely makes more money that way. The number 2 favorite way is appreciation, and unfortunately this isn't something that we really have that much control over. It's really when the market just kind of increases on its own and our home is worth more than it originally was. Quick example, we bought our first house in 2004. We paid about $109,000, and today Zillow says it's worth about $170,000. I know that that's high, so it's probably more like, $270,000. But I know that that's high. I honestly think it's worth maybe more like $250,000, $260,000, somewhere in there. And so just leaving it to where we own it and whatnot for a longer time, just makes it to where you have more, equity and money built up in that. Now, of course, in order to tap into that equity, we would either have to sell it, or we would have to get some kind of a home equity loan or something where we borrow against that. But the fact that we own a thing that, is worth that much, and when we first bought it, it was worth that much, and then when, time goes by, it's worth more, there really aren't a whole lot of investments or things in general that we can buy that do that. When we buy a car, we buy it for this, and then, several years down the road, it's worth that. We buy a shirt and we continue to wear it. Obviously, it's not going to be worth as much as when we first paid for it. Anything in life pretty much, a chair, furniture, just anything. Most everything that we buy, as soon as we start using it, it's worth less. But real estate is really cool in that when we first buy it, it's worth a certain amount, but then the price increases. That's what it means to appreciate instead of depreciate. So, just appreciation is my favorite way, and that's just basically buy the home and start just living in it, or, just owning it in general, and then just let time do its thing and let it just continue increase in value. And my third favorite way to build equity in our properties is by home improvement projects. So if we were to do little home improvement projects or big improvement projects, these can add equity to our home as well. So keeping up on the paint outside, putting a new roof on it, really fun projects like, remodeling the kitchen or adding solar panels or other cool things that make your house worth more is another way to definitely help build some equity in our property as well, because as soon as we complete these projects, the house is worth more. But it is important to consider that these types of projects do depreciate as opposed to the house itself. So if you were to do a new roof now, it's not going to be, adding as much value as it did, when you first did it 10 years from now, because now that roof is starting to wear. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Or if you were to redo the kitchen, if we were to redo it today, but then we were to sell the house in 10 years from now, it's not going to be worth that same $10,000 we spent to remodel it, because who's to say that it's going to be the taste of the people, 10 years from now. So yeah, while it can add some value up front, it is important to consider that these projects don't hold their value long term. And it's also good if you are thinking of doing some of these projects to maybe even look up a website that I will go ahead and link in the description box below on, how to figure out what, all these projects actually add in value. So some of them can cost a lot but don't really add a lot of value, and others can cost a little but add a lot of value. And some are about the same, as much as you spend is how much value you add. They're all different. So it is important to consider that if the purpose of why you're doing the project is to add the value, then it may be a good idea to go ahead and look up that website and make sure that the projects that we're doing add the value that you're hoping for. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. My favorite ways to add equity to your home. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.